Good morning. This is Sarah Rockwell, or good afternoon, wherever you might be. This is Sarah Rockwell of www.spiritualcoachingforyou.com and www.howcanidistress.com. Today, on the Spaces of Our Lives, we're talking about observation. And I didn't really know what I was going to talk about and share with you this week, but I've had several observations. So it's just made me more in touch with my senses and my knowing. So, what have you observed in your life this week? Oftentimes we are so busy and caught up in what we're doing, our work, our business, our play, that we don't really notice what's going on around us in our relationships with nature and our relationships with other people. So I'm going to share with you a couple of observations that I had this week, just so that you can understand what I'm talking about. This week, when I was walking at Fuller Farm, which is a farm nearby, with 3 dogs, I happened to come upon 2 people that were taking photographs of a garden spider, a very large garden spider. And so I took some photos, and I've been back 2 days since, so yesterday is my 3rd day in a row, and the garden spider was still there, still in the same web. But what I noticed is that the web that he was weaving wasn't circular, but his latest part of the web was zigzag. And I thought, wow, this is really different, because I've never seen spider webs that are zigzagged. I've always seen them very much in a circle or an oval or just very fine wired, but this was sort of like zigzag in a straight line. So today when I go back this afternoon and take, I probably will only have 1 dog with me today, take the dog back, I'll be interested to see if the garden spider is still there and what he's weaved. But if the 2 people hadn't stopped to take the picture of the garden spider and noticed it, I'm not sure that I would have observed, because I would have been paying attention to my dogs, that the spider had a web alongside the trail. Another observation I had this week was of a friend who I hadn't been in contact with for a while, but I saw him through media, through television, and what was interesting to me is, even though looked perfectly well and healthy and everything, I just sensed that there was something going on. And it made me reach out, because I hadn't contacted the person in a couple of years, but I was aware before I even reached out that I wouldn't get an answer to my question, are you well? So, but I think that if I hadn't had the TV on, and if I hadn't all of a sudden heard the voice and recognized whose voice it was, and then gone to see what the interactions were with the interviewers, I wouldn't have known, because it isn't something that I would have picked up on, because I hadn't seen the person in several years. So that was an increased observation, and an observation also that I knew that I wouldn't get a response to that one question. I did get a response to my email, but not to that question, are you well? So I think that's an important observation, because I've talked to other people this week about different health-related things, and it's very hard sometimes for people to observe what's going on with them, but also reach out to holistic care, the possibility of healing through other realms other than medical. A friend was telling me about somebody who strongly felt that they no longer had cancer in their body, and they were had surgery, but now were being preventively treated, so there wouldn't be a reoccurrence. But their feeling about the chemotherapy was that it was going to make them ill, which most chemotherapies do, but that they really didn't need it because all the cancer was gotten, but there was overkill. So the observation by my friend there was that medical technology was telling her one thing, but in her heart and in her spirit, she felt something else. And what was she going to do with that self-knowledge? And oftentimes, a lot of us might have been in that situation. I've had breast cancer, and even though mine hadn't spread at the time years ago, it was recommended that I had radiation, and I did do radiation. So it's very interesting with observations. And the third type of another observation that I saw this week was I've been taking care of my neighbor's dog, which I've shared the story with, but I felt a lump last evening while I was patting her, and I'm going to watch it for a few days just to make sure it's not a bite or whatever from racing around in the woods and that she didn't injure herself. But it's interesting how observations, oftentimes we don't pay attention to them, and then all of a sudden we have so many observations that come into our lives. One is self-observation. I'm taking a metaphysical class right now and looking at more deeply my spirituality. And one of the chapters that we read was about self-observation and how we view things about ourselves, and that we need to be really, really compassionate when we observe ourselves, especially if you think that you came into the world completely healthy and well, and that you are completely healthy and well, and that you do have abilities to heal yourself. Then when we observe, and when we observe how we do business, how we interact with people, we need to not only observe other people in relationship to ourselves, but us in relationship to them. And how do we interact? Do we interact with love? Do we interact with compassion? Are we just there? Are we just present? And we need to not self-condemn ourselves if we make errors. If we write something and we see that there are a lot of misspellings, and we could be like, oh boy, you're really a dummy. But we could say, okay, I'm human. Let me just correct this and move on. So there are many observations that you can make. So this week, what I want you to do is to be aware of your observations. Open your heart and open your mind and let things be around you, and observe perhaps a little more closely than you usually do on what is going on in the life outside yourself, but also the life inside yourself. What are you observing about yourself? One other example I can give from this week is that I slipped on a wet log on the trail and fell. Didn't think I hurt myself, but that evening I found this big black and blue, and I thought, oh my goodness, where did this come from? But then I knew it was from my fall, but I had no idea that until I lifted my shirt up that I had this massive black and blue. So be patient with yourself. meditate if you choose, journal if you choose, but just focus on getting 5 to 10 observations this week that you wouldn't get if you were living your busy life. And how do they impact you? The dog's lump means I might need to take action. My friend's health, I'll be present in there if the person needs to talk. With my own self-knowledge, self-observation, I'll be compassionate and loving towards myself and towards others in my relationships with others. And with the spider, I am just fascinated to know how many days he'll be there. Now, he may have been there days before. I'm not sure how long a garden spider lives. But I'll be very interested in seeing what happens to this web and how beautiful it ends up. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy your observations this week. You can get in touch with me, as you know, through either of my websites. Remember, the spaces of our lives. We can create, we can change, we can just really enjoy the spaces in our lives. And if we do observations and journaling, and we're compassionate and loving, I apologize, and we're compassionate and loving with ourselves and others, then we'll be happier and can lead more productive and energetic lives. Thank you for being here today. Talk to you soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.